Martin Beanz Ward, how are you getting on?
Not too bad, Tommy boy. Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm great. I'm great. Do you know what? The amount, at least 4 different people have messaged me asking, are we from the same place? And I don't know. Because I have this hybrid accent from living in Cork for years and then living now in Dublin, that I've ended up with a Tuam accent, it would seem.
Well, I wouldn't say that, because I don't have a Tuam accent, actually. I've got more of a Galway, like a very soft mid-Atlantic type of accent,
Right.
But I don't know. So you know what I mean? Like it's one of those. It's how I fit into the settled community, Tom. You know yourself.
Yeah, because you say
by the sound.
You say Galway
by the
very
sounds of
nicely.
it, Tom,
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Galway.
I keep cutting
Galway,
over.
is it?
Galway.
I'm conscious of a small bit of a lag in this, Tom, so I'm just going to close off all the other stuff. My reception isn't the best here now.
It's pretty good. You should see Owen Colgan's. I think he's got a fucking tin can in the air trying to pick up some internet somewhere. But he's out in fucking Belmullet or some fucking the end of the earth, Nick.
He's out in the stick, so he is. He's out in the middle of a bog somewhere in Swinford.
Literally.
Oh, sure, he's in Belmullet now, isn't he? He's from Swinford now. Yeah.
Yeah. At least.
Actually, I didn't watch.
Go on, shout away.
Go on. No. By all means.
We'll get the timing of this leg. I was just saying, Swinford would be urban by Belmullet fucking standards. Jesus.
Yeah, well, Belmullet's way up the top, isn't it? Up towards the coast, like it's right by the coast.
Yeah. When a man wants self-isolation, that's where you'll find it, like.
I'll tell you what, though, like, for where I am in Galway now, it's like I live in a village just outside Galway City, so it's fairly quiet. Like it'll be urban enough, but like it'll be very, very small. It's more of a drive-through place. So like Clare Galway, I don't know if you've ever. Like, it's literally like a drive-through. Like I've seen bigger Supermax drive-throughs, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? It's lovely because I like that. I like a small kind of village more than a big city.
Yeah, I'd be that way. But even Galway, as the cities of Ireland go, Galway has kind of, there's a bit of a big town.
Yeah.
Like I used to do a bit, like I like Galway because you still know all the mad cunts. Do you know?
Yeah.
And there's an allowance for the mad fuckers in a small town. You know, that kind of way. Era.
I mean, that's the thing though. Galway's very inviting as well though. Like when you go out in Galway, it's like, you never know who you meet. It's one of those places that people from all over Ireland go to as well to have a night out. Because to be fair now, it is a great night out. Well, not at the moment, like, but I'd say, it mightn't be a good night out for another 2 years with the way things are going. Jesus. You know what that is? You know what that is now, Tom? That is, I bought this little thing for when I do videos in the car. It's one of those sticky oaks you stick to the windscreen. And obviously it needs a bit of spit now or something like that, but it's after coming down. It almost showed my cleavage.
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what that is? For years, I was buying them yokes out at the pound shop. And as soon as a sunny day would come out, the fucking yoke would hit the deck in the middle of a town or something. And I went mad and I gave 11 quid for one about a year ago. And it hasn't come off the windscreen yet.
Well, I only paid a £5 for this now, but that was on sale. It was like down from fucking, 15 quid as well. But no, I have it now over about a year and a half. I have it, and it's grand for doing the videos because all of my videos, I don't know if you noticed them.
Yeah,
they're always in the car. Now some might say I didn't come up with that concept on my own. That I may have copied another comedian.
But, Jerry Seinfeld, that's who you copied, isn't it? Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, that's the one. But you know what? If somebody else is doing something successfully, there's no harm in kind of mimicking it a bit. Well, what I do, in fairness, why I do use the car, well, the fact that I'm a traveller, I mean, you gotta advertise where you're living as well. Well, do you know what I mean? Keep a culture and all that. But what the reason why is because it's very well, like the sound installation inside a car is fantastic for videos and stuff like that. And recently, myself and a mate of mine who's a talented musician, we started doing kind of parody songs and stuff like that. We found that the car is the best because, like, obviously you could hook it up to your laptop or your sound system and all that. You could do it the proper way, which he does. He produces music. But I find that to do parodies, you don't want to be taking yourself too seriously either, you know? And do you know what I mean? So the two lads in the car with a guitar, and you're scrunched up like this, and you're singing away, you know? But it's great sounding, and that's kind of, it's something that I'm trying to, I recently started, this is no small secret now, but I recently started to learn the guitar. And I'll be learning for 6 weeks tomorrow.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous because you're 6 weeks beyond what I've, for my whole fucking existence on this planet, I've said that I will do at some stage, and I've never fucking done it.
I hear Tom.
How did you pull the trigger? Was you just go, fuck it, I'm getting a guitar, or what was that like?
Okay, so I actually had the guitar for 3 years.
So that's okay. That sounds like me. Yeah.
What happened was, one of the walls, there was like a mark on the wall where the plaster was kind of ashed a bit. So I hung the guitar up over it because the landlord was coming out to check the place. And I thought it was me that, at some point I broke this. And then she came out and she said, I see you put a guitar up there to mark that. So I'm actually going to get all that replastered. But so it was hanging as an ornament for, nearly 3 years. And then 6 weeks ago, I had a look at it and I was like, you know what? There's nothing else happening. I've got no more gigs. All the gigs have been cancelled. The only gigs I have left now, I have one coming up in Waterford, but I'm going to have to cancel it. It's a 400 capacity room. It's the Theatre Royale. Beautiful theatre.
Room. Beautiful room, yeah.
It took me years to actually get theatres like this and get an actual audience to buy tickets. And I was recently talking to them and they said that because of the current restrictions, in August when my show is meant to run, they'll only be allowed to sell 100 tickets out of the 400, which means there's about less than 20 tickets left to sell, to be honest with you. And I'm going to have to pull that one because the way I see it is it's my first time doing a huge theatre like that. I want to do it properly. I also don't want to have some of my fans that are cocooning. A lot of my fans now would be. A lot of people that interact with online comedy and stuff like that tend to be kind of between 40 and 60.
Right.
That kind of in around that demographic. And I've noticed a lot of messages coming in saying, I'd love to come to your show, but, I'm cocooning, I'm afraid, I don't know what's going to happen. So I was speaking to the person from the theatre today, and via message, I was meant to call actually. But I was just saying, I don't feel overly comfortable running a show. First, it's going to be like 100 people in a huge room. Secondly, the ticket's nearly gone already, so there's not much time to, or space for anyone else to buy tickets. But thirdly, I just don't want to run a show where there are fans of mine that can't get to go.
Yeah.
And may not be able to see me again in that era when all of the other shows is probably already nearly full. So I don't even know if I'll be able to get that place next year. But I think on the basis of all of that, I'm going to pull the trigger. Like, look, it'd be easy for me to walk in and still perform. Absolutely. It's a couple of quid I could quite easily make. But I always said that I want to do it, and when I do it, I want to do it right. And even the Town Hall Theatre here in Galway is being rescheduled into next year now as well. So literally everything that I had going for this year is being moved on to next year. So it's a little bit shit. But again, going back to the guitar, the reason why I've chosen to learn the guitar is because I want to start bringing that musical element into my show.
Right.
I want to kind of couple parody. I think parody songs can be very powerful if you do them in the correct way, like satirical kind of stuff.
Yeah. I do. I know exactly what you're saying. So it was actually for work reasons you did it. At least you had that drive. I can find no fucking way of fitting it in. I'm like, but I mean, we have a new child. I'm like, maybe I'll learn a thing just to be a good example to him. He's 10 months old. I haven't picked up fucking anything. I'm a terrible person.
Well, it's never too late though, Tom. That's the thing about guitar. You dirty fucking bastard.
To anybody who's wondering what the fuck keeps happening, is Martin's phone keeps on falling from the windscreen.
I swear to God, Tom, it was definitely a step of parade. Hopefully, you fuck yeah, I'll stick you on one way or another.
And it landed right in your crotch, Martin, as well. Just we're only 15 minutes in. This is not even 10 minutes in. Brilliant.
Yeah, I was going to put some advertising there for my next show, or like a poster on something on my lap.
But
How about yourself, Tom, with shows? How are you faring out? Are you doing?
Man, don't mention the war. Fucking hell, we had a show lined up for last weekend in Limerick. We had sold it out. It was outdoors. You heard it?
Right. Yes, I heard that.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah, the guys apologized.
Get to the bottom of that.
Yeah. The guy came, he apologized, and everyone went, yeah, look, it was mistaken identity, and I shouldn't have done it. And they're like,
mistaken identity, me whole.
Look,
Look, you might not be able to say it, but I'll say it, right? That looked to me like it was taking out the competition. Also, it looked a little bit like we weren't allowed to do it, so I'll make sure you're not allowed to do it.
Oh, no, that's definitely what it was. For sure, that's what it was. Yeah. But and I think that may have actually happened to him, is that he got a show pulled from under him. But it's sure as shit wasn't us that did it to him.
Yeah.
Rather than him fucking being a man and a professional, go, hey, were you the fuckers that did this? He just ran with it, and just because it became an official complaint, and the guards were like, for fuck's sake, because they wanted the gig to go ahead.
Yeah.
But because it came in as an official complaint, they had to refer it up to HQ in Dublin. Of course, somebody answered the phone in Dublin and went, what? Something's going on in Limerick. The people, fucking cancel it. Phone down. And they're like,
it's funny that it was only the comedy, because the people still arrived for the other shows that were on, and there was still the same amount of people there that just didn't get to see comedy.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Like, I don't see how that was even a valid complaint.
He found a little loophole where it said live entertainment being performed by an entertainer. You know what I mean? It wasn't physically allowed at the time. Now there's a ton of stuff all over the next month and stuff, like Aslan are playing in this place.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a bunch of stuff sold out off the back of some of the other promoter, and I don't know, will they get to go ahead? Like, it was a weird moment where everybody looking at this document that was written, this legislation that was written, the world and his mother could look at it and go, yeah, okay, in a small, pub where there's 100 people betting on top of him, yeah, but in this environment, there's 8 meters to the first fucking car. Man, if I hit Ebola, I couldn't fucking give it to you. Do you know what I mean? Even if I fucking tried. And this is the thing, it was because it was physically written, and everybody looking at it would have went, yeah, that makes no sense for this environment. But because it was an official complaint, it had to go to HQ. Somebody answered it in HQ, and talking to other guards and stuff, they went, man, you could have gotten anybody that day. And they may have looked at it and went, yeah, error drive on. Or you could have gotten somebody who was heading out the fucking door to lunch. Fucking cancel it. Good.
You see, I suppose the Gardaí are in a very difficult situation there as well, because, again, in a situation like that, if they were to say, yeah, run with it, then that's more or less an official line. You know, if you're being told by headquarters, Garda headquarters, to run with the event, then that's kind of opening the door for anyone else to use that then as an example. And basically, yeah, like there's a lot of kind of legal kind of issues around it, I suppose. So maybe they were kind of playing it safe. But at the same time, it was very vindictive of what the other guy did. I do hope that you get another show there, because you were sold out, weren't you?
Sold out, man. So
that's heartbreaking, like
and he was the big sickener. The same promotions company that I was in with, they have 12 of these.
Shout out there to Kevin Rowe.
Kevin Rowe events. Exactly. He had 12 of these venues around the country doing, and he wanted to do the exact same thing. Movies and stand-up comedy. So it was 12 big juicy gigs gone with one email. And it's not just me. What it would have led to is other people getting back on the fucking road. You know what I mean? Even if one fucking glimmer of light in this environment, I think it would have set precedents at the time, like, to at least go, okay, televise this. Tell everybody what we're doing. This isn't in a pokey pub where somebody's nana is going to get, COVID or corona.
Yeah.
What it is fuck me. We're in a yard, a 20-acre fucking yard. The cars.
It's a huge place, like.
It couldn't have been further. It couldn't have been safer. And everybody looking at it could. It was just one of those weird moments where everybody was, it's like the Emperor's New Clothes. We see it's fine, but it's just there on the paper. So rather than just going, hey, can we quickly get somebody to fucking specify this? Didn't happen. And
man, what's heartbreaking about it is it's so like every comic now at the moment, because I don't do the online comedy shows. I don't really like them. I like to kind of do the online live feeds myself and ad lib with my own fans and supporters. And you know, sometimes you get people are sound like they throw you some tips on PayPal, but more than that, it's just about having this kind of constant contact with my fan group, and because they've been very, 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 very supportive of from when I started with the page and right now to, like, I wouldn't be selling out my ticket because, of course, you already know I don't do the comedy circuit. I have never done the comedy circuit. I've booked venues that were used in the comedy circuit, and now I'm not. I'm now only using theaters, and I'm very thankful for that because I wouldn't be able to sell out a theater if it wasn't for those fans. I know some comics, which is fucking ironic for comics, but they would look down their nose at my type of humor that I do in sketches. And they would use that as almost a marker for my ability as a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
When in actual fact, my stand-up comedy is 100 times better than my actual fucking sketches. Like, I don't know any other Irish comedian. I don't know any other Irish comedian who came out on their first year with their very first tour and made it 2 hours of totally ad-libbed comedy. And that was a laugh every 8 to 10 seconds. That wasn't just like, you know, having a bit of crack and maybe get a laugh every 2 minutes. Every single show I did was high octane. It was typical of, I suppose, natural traveller humor, the slag and the banter, which I think has been. And you do a lot of banter stuff yourself on stage, Tom. You're very much high energy as well.
Yeah.
And when you tap into that high energy stuff, it's almost like your mind works at a faster level. So you're quicker with the wit. So coming up with a punchline or coming up with a joke or a structured joke around somebody, or something somebody says, things like that, you don't even have to overthink it. It becomes natural. I think a lot of comedians, when they saw me doing well, without being on the circuit, without doing all the shitty unpaid gigs, a lot of them, I won't say it's jealousy, but it was fucking jealousy. Well, I don't even think it was jealousy. I think it was more to do with, you know, they were looking at my stuff online and thinking, this fella's, he's not a comedian, or and like that, forgetting that I actually started comedy back in 2005.
Yeah, I was going to say that to you. Yeah, because you started it way back, didn't you? Originally.
Yeah, I did. I started back in 2005. Des Bishop was doing this thing with RTE. It was called Joy in the Hood.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
He went around. Yeah, he went around the country looking for people from disadvantaged communities. Almost like a fucking National Geographic thing, to be honest with you. Oh, and look at the wild travellers. Here we're going to make them funny. You know,
they found you and Willow White.
I know, and they couldn't work out which one was the fucking traveller. In the end, they settled for a traveller and a knacker. So that's like,
you're one of the only guest I've ever had on that can actually say that live on air.
I know, isn't it fucking beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? You know, actually, on Willow White is probably one of the most underrated comedians I've ever come across. Why he isn't represented by like a top agency, or why he isn't getting more stuff on you know, like large shows, or why he isn't getting on TV, I cannot understand that, because Willow from day one had what I was talking about, that quick wit, that natural humor that you tend to find in around working class areas anyway, because we grow up with the banter, the quick fire. Yeah. The same with the farming community. They're very quick and kind of, I often say, like, the humor I have, it's like if you walk into a rural pub, the first thing they do, the lads know you, the first thing they do is they'll throw you an insult, or they'll slag you about something that you're doing, and then they'll ask you what you're drinking. That, I think, has been lost.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. I was living in a place, and I'd been living in Dublin for years, and we moved out the country. And we're maybe about 20 miles outside Dublin now, and I went into the local pub. And it was because the pub owner was my landlord. So I had to go in and ask him a question about where the fuck he kept this thing. And by pure fluke at the time, in the middle of the day, a show I did years ago about fucking ghosts was on the telly behind me, right? Up, and I see the two old boys at the counter looking at me and then looking up. And without anybody, you'd assume they'd go quiet, or anywhere else in the world that you may get paid a compliment, or people would just look away. This one outfit, this outfit looked at me and went, "Hot chest, fair play to you. Lost all the weight anyway, you did." And I'm like, I fucking love that. I fucking love that. And once I got in with these guys, I remember bringing like mates who just weren't, they were kind of friends of friends would come in and they come to the pub and they just weren't ready for the banter train. All these old boys, the second you go in the door, be like, oh, look, here's this cunt now again. And it's just machine gun stuff. And you have to, the first 10 minutes has to be, how back you verbally punching people.
Yeah.
And then it's, hey, it's great crack. And I've seen lads sweating, Dublin lads, lads who just weren't ready for it going, why the fuck is this happening? It's like, yeah, because this is...
Oh my God, Fiacra. Oh my God, we better leave Fiacra. He's going to use his pitchfork. It's not a pitchfork, it's a pitch spoon, Fiacra. Sorry there to any Dublin listeners, I'm only joking, we take the piss. But you're right, like that quick fire banter, I find, actually county-wise, when it comes to banter, I said it's kind of, I found that it's very closely associated with working class areas and farming areas. The Gaeltacht as well, actually. The Islanders, they're no better than any of the rest of us, I suppose. They're the exact same way, the exact same thing. I've noticed it everywhere. And then you go into more affluent areas, and it's not the same.
The crack is gone out of them.
I think it comes down to ego, Tom. I think a lot of it comes down to they're afraid to kind of, I suppose, open themselves up to being slagged. I did an interview with Tommy Tiernan there some years back. I booked him for, it was a festival that I had set up and ran. It was over 2 days. And I just did it because I wanted to do it. And I wanted to kind of have an equal type of, like equal opportunity type of festival. And I had loads of people involved. But Tommy was the main act. He was always going to be the main act. He was somebody, and still is, somebody that I would look up to and aspire to be like as a comedian. And when I was speaking to him, I was talking about, again, about the ad-lib stuff, because, again, I wanted to hear from somebody who knows comedy, who has been right through comedy, and who has done some ad-lib himself. And I wanted to find out, was my comedy any less than structured jokes and things which, by the way, I can do. I write jokes all the time. I usually put them up on Facebook. But I asked him, what's the story with the ad-lib? And he was like, for him, it's one of the highest art forms within comedy. It's one of the highest forms of comedy. He was saying, because you have to think so quickly. And he said, but don't forget as well, he said, that a lot of people come to hear a story also. And he was saying to me, maybe you should tell the story of, he said, because if I go to see a traveller comedian, I want to hear their story. And I found that fascinating. So at the time I was just structuring my Go Me Fiend tour, which was the ad-lib tour, and I was working out the venues and stuff like that. And then as soon as I finished that, I started writing my new tour, which is totally scripted. It's not ad-lib now anymore. And it's called so there was the Go Me Fiend was the first one. That was, as in, by the way, the Go Me Fiend. Do you know what that means?
Yeah. So the Go Me is, it's like you would call somebody, it's hard to describe it, but I think I've been called a Go Me, I think it's, and then Fiend is used both in Galway and it's in Cork as well.
Well, it's actually a traveller word. It's actually a word from Shelta.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So is Bure.
Is it?
So is Tome.
Oh, I did not know this.
So Go Me Fiend actually means the stupid or the silly man. And the reason that came about is because when I was telling my parents that I was going to, do a tour, and they were all for it, and then they were saying like, what are you going to talk about? Oh, jeez, I hope you're not talking about me now on that fucking stage, you fucking idiot, you. And that was my mother.
Lovely lady.
She had, no, it wasn't the father actually. So he turned around and he said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm actually going to create the jokes on the spot, because he doesn't know what improvisation or ad-lib would be. So it's
nobody's how lad does.
Don't be using those buffer words around me. That type of thing. So I told him, it says, create on the spot. And he said, Jesus Christ, tonight you're some innocent boy. You're what you call a proper Go Me Fiend. And I said, there you go. The Go Me Fiend. And that's what I called it. And the next one that's coming up now, which was meant to be this year, and I've had sold out shows. I've one sold out show in Cork that I had to cancel. It was in May, in the Cork Arts Theatre. But this one is called Queen of the Travellers.
Oh, brilliant.
It's kind of a play on, do you know the whole macho thing, the King of the Travellers and all that kind of stuff. So that was my picture. It was like me with my fists up and all that. So I look like fucking Graham Norton on steroids. Like, I don't look anyway like a fucking bruiser. You know, I can't fight. So I was thinking, like, I wanted to bring in the fact that I'm gay, and I wanted to kind of talk about what it was like to grow up as a gay traveller. And then, like, within that, I wanted to kind of look at the overall kind of societal differences between travellers and non-travellers, and show that, like, I'm a minority within a minority type of thing. So that's
I was going to say, man, you're just one step away from just getting a grant or something first. You're vegan as well. Tell the truth, you're vegan as well. It's amazing.
I'm not. And how can a gay man be vegan? We love our meat. Jesus Christ, Tom. Grab a sausage at me, will you? But yeah, so
that was the most ungay phrase I've ever heard in my life. Lob a sausage at me, will you?
Sorry, I got a little bit ethnic there. But so yeah, I suppose it's an experimental type of thing anyway. Like, for me, doing structured stuff, it's far easier. It's so much easier to turn up to a show and say, I'm going to say this for the first 15 minutes. I'm going to do this for another 15 minutes. I'm going to break it up with a little bit of crowd interaction. Then I'm going to go back in for another 15 minutes. And you have 4 topics that you're going to look at. And it's all structured. It's all nice. You'll be out on the dot, finished on time. But I really do love the crowd interaction and being in the spur of the moment to come up with stuff and just to, and I don't know, I find that to be the most interesting form of comedy for me anyway. But I do find that when it's structured and you have it scripted, there's far less that can go wrong, because you can always go into a crowd, no matter how shit hot you think you are, or how shit hot I think I am. You'll always walk into you'll always walk into a crowd and they may not buy into it. You may do one joke that may be offensive, which can happen to anyone when you're doing ad-lib. And that to me is too dangerous now, because not that I'm going to offend people, excuse me, but because I'll never be able to record my show if I have stuff that offends people. I also don't want to alienate people within my own show. They're coming to have fun. They're not coming to be made fun of. Although the majority of the ones that came to the last tour knew that it was ad-lib and they knew that it was banter and it was making fun of them, so they were kind of primed. But I've learned that it's probably better to stay on script, because essentially what you're selling them is a product. You don't want that product to be kind of watered down by one incident where somebody gets upset or doesn't find the joke funny or things like that. So I've decided now that that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to structure it that way, and I'm going to keep the ad-lib comedy, the improvised comedy, for my live feeds when I'm actually talking to fans, because they know what to expect when I do a live feed then. Whereas with people coming to a comedy show, they're paying good money to see me. Now, everybody that came to my show last year loved it, and they're all expecting the same again this year, but it's not. And again, it's because, well, you know yourself, if a festival promoter or somebody in TV, if they don't know what your comedy is going to be, they're not as inclined to want to put you on TV.
Yeah,
or
you can't blame them either, because they need to they need to tick boxes. And also, I suppose, time too. Now that you've gone into theatres, they're going, what time is Get Out, Martin? Well, it could be 10. Fuck it. Lads, we might be there all night. They're going, no, Martin, we've people employed, so there is that moment too, like, where they need to know down to the button, good night and thanks. And it is easier on your mind too, like, as you said, it'll be the set show, and then next year dump it and go do another show, so it's, and you always have the ad-lib stuff. If someone farts in the front row, then it's game over. Like, you know yourself, you go, right, cutting out the next 5 minutes, she's getting talked to, so at least you have that ability, like.
Well, yeah, I think when it comes to a heckle, you have free roam on a heckle. Like a heckle, you're being invited to respond to a heckle. And depending on the severity or the nature of the heckle, you can kind of quickly work out how far into a slagging match you can go, type of thing, But like, for me, like, I'll give you one example. I did a show in the Micklally Theatre in Galway last year, and within 5 minutes, somebody got up and walked out. It was a girl got up and walked out. I didn't even speak to her, but she saw me slagging some of my other fans in the corner, And I was kind of working my way around. This is me just saying hello, by the way, to people. So I was working my way around, having a bit of banter with them. And everyone was up for it. And then as I started to come around to this side, she must have panicked and thought that I was going to talk to her.
Oh, right.
Got up and she kind of walked out. And I kind of stopped the show and I was like, listen, guys, and I have to explain what it was. It was banter. This is me. I'm just saying hello at the moment. It's going to kind of get a bit more up-tempo in a minute. And I said, if there's anyone that's uncomfortable with the way I do this, I said, don't worry about it. If you're up for a bit of banter, kind of eyeball me. Let me know that you want me to have a bit of banter with you. If you don't, kind of just look a bit to the side. I'll know to leave you alone. I said, if there's anyone that's uncomfortable, and I spent a good maybe 2 or 3 minutes talking to the crowd because I felt bad that this one person was worried that I was going to do that. So that was the pinnacle point for me when I decided that's it. I can't do that anymore without offending at least one person. And if at least one person gets offended after paying to come to my show and supporting me, it's not worth it then at that point. For me anyway, it's not worth it.
No, and I get it because, and also the woman she may not have been offended. I've seen people quite literally, the colour drain down out of their faces. They did not want to be in that row or whatever. And as you're moving along, the fucking level of blood is getting lower and lower. And and they don't know that you know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because all they've ever watched is comedy on the telly. And they think, they go in going, telly, sit down. Fuck, there's a real bloke up there talking. Oh, Aaron, off. And the poor woman might have just clenched and went, fuck, I'm out of here. Fuck it, you know? And not ready for that moment, like not knowing that you knew, you know? And it's I'm not saying it's sad that you have to say that, but sometimes, you know, I
think we have a responsibility now, though, Tom. I think if the way for me anyway, and I always kind of gear it towards me because I'm not the conventional stand-up comic that came up through the circuit and stuff like that. But I for 3 days after that show, I felt bad, and I tried to forget. I did, and I tried to get in contact with that person just to find out, you know, were they okay? Try to give them free tickets in the future. But it turned out that that couple in particular won a competition to get those tickets. It was another pub in the town that had a competition up, so they may not have known what that show was about before they arrived, type of thing. But look, it was a lovely way for me to learn. It wasn't lovely for the person who had to leave, but it was a lovely way for me to learn because it reminded me to have empathy when you're slagging, because we've got so much power, Tom. When you're holding that microphone, you have so much power. You know, you're almost like the bully with the loudest voice, you know, and they don't really have the same level of power with the microphone to kind of respond to us. So for me anyway, it's all about kind of personal responsibility and how you speak to people, because like some of the stuff I say to people can be fucking very to the bone, like, you know. But then by the same token, I'm making fun of my own community. I make fun over the fact that I'm fat, you know. Like I do a lot of self-deprecating stuff as well. I tear myself to pieces sometimes with it.
That's the trade-off you have to do. Like I do this as well.
Yeah, it is.
I go, you know, I'm a fucking angry fucking short arse culture fucking stomping around the stage who's going bald in front of your very eyes. Now let's all get fucked up together. And that's nearly, they go, oh, all right, I recognize what he just said. So anything going forward, and it's just a bundle of words, just there you go. We're off to the fucking races. By the way, nobody's going to get any smarter from being in this room. Listen to me. This is just silly shit. And you can almost see sometimes, because people sometimes are going, am I at a lecture? Should I take everything? You know, it's hard for them to switch gears, to just go, this is silly time. We're in silly time here now. So forget about work, forget about everything. Let's all just get silly.
Sometimes what I do, I just turn around halfway through it and I say, thanks for laughing at my TED talk about discrimination that travelers pay.
You have to. Thanks. How you couldn't.
Thanks for being part of this social experiment. This video, this whole show has been recorded for the benefit of our TED Talk viewers. But you know, I think for me at the moment, I'm the only traveler that does comedy. And it can be sometimes a lonely place out there because I don't really have anything to go on. And I suppose I look at kind of like the likes of Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, how they kind of navigated the whole, you know, black comic thing. And I don't see much of a difference on like Ahmed Jalili, you know, being an Iranian. I don't think there's any other Iranian comedians out there either. And like that for me is kind of, I look at what they do and how they kind of navigate around that. And it's only now I'm beginning to see kind of where I should have been focusing my comedy and stuff like that. But like, it's not easy, man. Not when you're not on the comedy circuit. You don't get to do all those gigs and kind of get all that stage time unless you kind of create the shows yourself and stuff like that, you know. But like, that's I'm happy I'm at a point now where I have a crowd, I have an audience, I have a fan base, and I suppose I have the confidence to go up and try to be funny, because I think that's all we ever do. We try to be funny. We don't go up being funny. We put a lot of work into trying to be funny, and the payoff is when people say you are funny. You're not funny until the audience reacts.
Oh yeah. You can be, and that's a thing that I mean, it kind of irks me a small bit that there does seem to be a kind of a millennial vibe, and it goes through every walk of life. No doubt there's people walking into accounting offices who are just going, I'd say I'm the best accountant in here. Am I? You haven't actually started work yet, fucking Morris. Come on. And there does seem to be a couple of those kind of coming up the odd time in comedy, and they're just quite literally, they've done 3 gigs, you know, or whatever, and they're going, I think you'll find. And you're like, you couldn't be, you know, like and it's a dangerous place to be, because you're gonna, you know, because you've built no base as you have done, you know what I mean? You've racked up no time, and they're gonna get slapped so hard by something in the way of an audience. But they'll be looking at an audience going, but I'm funny. And as you said, you're never funny until it's like a fire isn't a fire until it's on fucking fire. You know what I mean? It's just some timber and some petrol and a matches, but it ain't a fire until it's on fucking on fire. Like, so
100%. I remember when I started my first 10 or so gigs were with Des Bishop. So I was in front of, like, I did Vicar Street.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
I got a standing ovation in Vicar Street. I did the Cork Opera House also. I did so many big venues, and I'll always owe Des that much, at least. We kind of drifted separate ways afterwards. I'm not going to go into it, but like, I owe him that much. He gave me the opportunity, he gave me the start, and I think it was from that I got the motivation to kind of somewhat look at it. But then again, I spent a couple of years in Manchester running a bar. I gave up comedy for a good while. When I came back from Manchester, then I went into university. I didn't look at comedy again until 2016, when Galway Pride asked me to put on a show, which was the first time then I started putting on event-type shows, which got me on stage, got the stage time. I found that by doing events like that, I didn't have to do the circuit. I didn't have to kiss the ass. You know, I didn't have to beg for a gig. If I was to never do comedy, I'd never beg for one. I'd never beg for a gig in my life. And I found that I got a lot of freedom when I started running my own events. So that's what I started to focus on. And now, I suppose it was only in 2018 I started focusing on my page, which went from 4,000 followers up to over 50,000 now at the moment currently.
Stop.
Oh yeah, I got listen, and if you look at some of the other guys, like Steve O'Timothy's a perfect example. He was kind of knocked for doing his type of comedy. That guy is selling more tickets than most comedians on the circuit. And yet, and I feel the same with myself, because we do online content, it's like you're less than, but you're not. If you can get a laugh out of your crowd that have paid to get a laugh, then you are an established and successful comedian. And I think for me, I suppose when I started to grow my page, I started to think, maybe I can kind of look at different characters now. So I brought out another character called Mary Ann.
This is who I wanted to ask you about, because I had characters in my head.
She's single.
She's fucking gorgeous.
Well, no good, Tom. You're not related to her. But I brought Mary Ann out. So she
I love the way you said it, like you keep her in the fucking in the boot of the car. I brought Mary Ann out. And
she's more forceful than I am, would you stop, would you? Like, I do have the banter between the two pages. Like, Mary Ann is always slagging beans type of thing, and she goes really to the bone for the slagging. But I created that character just over 8 months ago, and she's got over 9,000 followers now on Facebook on her own right. Like, there are people following Mary Ann who hate beans. So I'm serious. They won't follow Beans. They don't like that kind of humor from Beans because he's a bit brash, he's a bit fucking arrogant, he's a little bit aggressive looking, and of course I don't regard the way he talks. Some people can't understand the word that's coming out of his mouth at all. He's like a wash machine is inside his mouth. Do you know that type of thing? So people can't understand sometimes what I'm saying. So with Marianne, it's kind of like it's a lot slower, you know, and she's definitely more high pitched. But she got a new wig the other day now. She's there's a few other characters that have yet to come. I have one character called his name is Seamus, so he's kind of like an Irish survival expert called Seamus, and I have a few of them. But I suppose the parody one then is going to be like a traveller singer on the circuit type of thing. You know, he's going to be bringing out songs and stuff like that. They're all going to be rip-off. But it's just, I suppose, that's the beauty with creativity during a lockdown. You're forced to kind of expand. You're forced to create something new. Which is why the guitar has been learned.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I suppose my podcasts have gone through the fucking roof. I'm never off this fucking thing. Between this and I have an online game show as well, where it's comedians just ripping. There is a structure of a game in between 4 or 5 cunts just ripping the heads off each other verbally as people get to watch it live. It's the abuse levels are just, but I think we're venting as well more than anything. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Heaven forbid I show up with a fucking moustache like this and a mullet that I'm growing a fucking mullet. That's what's happened to me, Martin, through this whole fucking
Is that
thing.
like an intentional thing, Tom?
No, I don't know. Herself went, can I cut your hair one of the days now? And do whatever the fuck you want. This shit has grown out the sides. So she shaved a mullet into the side of it about 3 weeks ago.
Give us a look at it. Turn around. Give us a look at the back of the head. Ah, lads, I swear to God. Tommy Ray Silas.
There you are now. There you are.
Huh?
Isn't it beautiful?
No, not Tommy Ray Silas. Tommy the Bear Silage. What?
Do you know what, though? I'm kind of starting...
It's deadly.
For the want of a better phrase, it's growing on me, literally. But I just... I just figured,
I think it looks class.
I think I'll let it down to the shoulders and we'll see where we go after that. That's all I'm saying. It's just, you know, it's I don't know. But I've a couple of, because you're obviously, as you said, you're a minority inside a minority. So but because you're on the Zoom call, you can add, what does it, like you used it already. Your dad called you innocent. What does it, explain to me, innocent? Is it that you don't know? Is that what it is? Is it?
No. I'm actually funny enough that because that whole innocent boy thing at the moment, I'm actually working on a sketch for that. I need to get kind of access to like a courtroom type of thing. So basically an innocent boy it's just an insult that you can throw somebody. Innocent means a little bit kind of without it being kind of ableist or about disabled people. It's not really about that at all. It's more about, do you ever meet a fella who's not all there, but not in a disability type of way?
In Tip, we describe him as a bit of a wanton, that lad.
Yeah, okay, so it's something like that, but we call them, he's a bit of an innocent boy, that fella. Like, there's no harm in him, he's just stupid. You know what I mean? So I'm building a sketch at the moment, and it's kind of in the courthouses where the judge says, I find you innocent, and then the fella goes, I'm not fucking innocent. Well, so you're guilty.
Perfect.
So I'm working on that sketch. I shouldn't probably say it, but like, look, I have so many sketches, man. Like, I have the Judge Mickey John Francis was kind of molded off of Joe Joyce, you know, he's the first traveller judge, you know, and he's getting them to sort their problems out the back with a couple of clouts, you know. It's like stuff like that she like. There's so many different angles that I want to kind of take the traveller stuff, but I do want to move on from the traveller stuff as well. I think for me, I'm not pigeonholed into it, but it's like I can speak about things within my community that other comedians can't. I really have a whole world that I could use for comedy. But some of my other characters now, that Seamus guy, he's not a traveller at all. And, you know, there's a few other kind of female characters that I'm going to be bringing out as well. But I think it's about expanding. It's about kind of just having a bit of fucking crack with new things, you know. But yeah, the word innocent anyway. That's kind of what it means.
Did you ever? Has there ever been any kind of pushback from the traveller community? Going, here, fucking ease off, will you? Or is it fair game? No. Like by and large, like 99.9% of travellers are like splitting their holes laughing. Like, just look at the comments on my page. And like even you know, stuff that I would do, like calling out homophobes within the community as well. Like, I got a huge amount of support for that. You're always going to get somebody who's going to say, well, that's a bit racist, you know. Oh, you can't say that. And then there's other people saying,
actually, funny enough, it was a settled person who said to me, I think you've got some internalized racism that you need to work through. You know, like you're saying stuff there that's very damaging to your community, you know? And then there was other travelers who said, are you actually a traveler? Like, you don't talk like one. So again, you got that kind of backwardness within my community as well, where if you speak a certain way, you're not a traveler. If you're gay, you're not a real traveler. You know, if you're a traveler that makes jokes about travelers, you've got internalized racism, you know? Or if you say, like, I remember another time, Marianne, the character, called Beanz out in a video, and she called him a dirty Nancy by an old queer that walks down the road. So some fucker came along and reported Marianne's page for homophobia and hate speech. It's like, it's about me! You know?
It's me talking to me.
Yeah.
It's
But it just shows you, like, people getting offended, like, on my behalf. You know, they're offended for me. It's like, how dare you speak about yourself like that? You don't know the damage you're doing to yourself. No, it's pure fucking bullshit. But look, you're going to meet people like that. That's my point. With travelers, it's no different. You're going to get one or two that's not going to like it. But those same people mightn't like comedy or mightn't even get satire or stuff like that, you know. But that's normal. I like it's fine. It's kind of, there isn't a comedian alive that hasn't insulted or offended at least one person, you know, with their jokes.
Yeah. But
that's kind of how you navigate.
And that's par for the course too. You know yourself, if you play to a giant audience, the one face you will see in the middle of it is that flat face. And it might be, and what I've actually found sometimes is that old one or old fella will come up to you and go, that was very good. But the only problem is they have that fucking face all their life. Like they don't.
They're probably an accountant.
Yeah, but isn't it weird? That's the one fucking face you'll spot. Everybody else could be roaring their holes laughing at that one fucking face.
A funny story. I tell you now. I did. Did you ever do the warm up for the Late Late Show? Did you ever do that one? Did you?
No, I don't think I ever will. After the handful of other shows I've done warm up for, Tommy and warm up shows don't work at all. They do not work for me because I'm going out.
Difficult. I went out with the exact same intention.
I did.
The problem is.
Oh, sorry. Fire away.
No, go on. Sorry, the lag is kind of. I thought it was.
What it was is the last one I did was for the Brendan O'Connor show, The Cutting Edge. And
yes.
Why they needed a stand-up comedian, I will never know, because the subjects for the night were two of the grimmest fucking things you've heard of in your entire life. And he came out to the audience beforehand and went, how's it going? So tonight, right? And you could see all the old ones in the audience were absolutely fucking loving it. They were like, oh, Jesus Christ, Brendan, give me more of that stuff, right? And he had the leg up on the first step, like leaning on it. He goes, so tonight's subjects will be, and it was something horrific, like really fucking dark. It was something along that, it was like literally abortion and assisted suicide, something. And then I swear to my life, a stage manager walks out beside him and goes, so Brendan, we have the comedian. Oh, lovely. So there's a fella to tell a few jokes first. And he just walks off in weird silence. I could hear I'll hear this for the rest of my life, his leather-soled shoes just walking across that floor. And I had to walk out with the microphone going, hey, how's everybody doing? Yeah, what's with aeroplane food, huh? You know, they're just looking at me going, we came for the misery and this cunt is bringing fucking happiness. What's that about? Like half a second into stepping out, I went, yes, I will never. I was trying to be big in myself, go, I'll never do this again. In my own head, I was going, genuinely, they will never let me do this again, because it was almost a mutual moment of, look, and just walked away.
I was actually a guest on that show, that particular show, actually.
Were you?
Not that one. Not the one that you were warming up. But no, I actually did another one 2 years ago, was actually. And what's your man's name? Is it Rory? Kind of a northern comedian. What's his kind of oh, I should know his fucking name. He's really good, and he was very, very good. But I saw him struggling, and like I was pissing myself. I was sitting down, and I was kind of like, they were coming over, patting your face with all the makeup, kind of getting ready, and they're like saying, "Okay, 20 seconds," and you're like waiting and thinking. I was like, oh, okay, like your man's about to get to a good punchline, as he's kind of delivering the punchline, the crowd are kind of going, you know, they weren't there for comedy.
Oh, no.
This is the thing, you see. They were tough now. That was a tough crowd. Like, so, like, I've seen the crowd that you're on about and the demographic that usually sit in that crowd, and what they're there for is not comedy. But
No.
my little story about the Late Late Show was somewhat worse in that it was the first time I was ever in RT Studios doing a show, and it was the kind of thing, and you had all the production crew were all there, and there was a guy there, I think it was one of the high up guys, and he was kind of having a look at me, kind of, you're probably thinking, is there something we can market here? Now, me, the gormless fuck, didn't have a clue what was going on. I didn't know how big of an opportunity it was.
You call me fiend.
No, worse than that, a gormless fuck. so I go out, and I started, you know, before I went out, I was kind of hyping myself up. But before I went out, they had introduced me to the green room, and they had introduced me to the free drink that was in the green room. Oh. So I decided to have a couple of scoops, and I drink whiskey. And when I went out anyway, I was like, oh, so the nerves kick in, you need a bit of water. And like, you couldn't get the water. So he's like, no, you're on now. So you go out, and then you're looking, there's about 100 lights at that staging area, and you're sweltering. And then I was the drink started to kick in, the anxiety kicked in at the one time. I was big, dirty, dry mouth to me, and I was looking up at the crowd. I was like, my name is Martin Beanz Ward, I'm a traveller, and that usually gets a laugh. It's like, you know? And then all of a sudden, like, this little bottle of water started going, ta, ta, floating down the fucking stairs. I was like, oh, what, they're even trying to bottle me, for fuck's sake. This is discrimination, by the way, just hope you know. And by the way, if you don't laugh, that's fucking racism too. Just hope you know that. Not one laugh. I died. Absolutely. And this is no word of a lie. I absolutely died on stage. and Tom, there's a reason why RT never came back to me. I think it was after 10 or 15 years before they had me back into place. I was that bad. And that'll show you the type of mindset you go into a place like that. Do you know what I mean? They're not geared for comedy. The compere comes out and he says, oh, ladies and gentlemen, blah, 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 and they're busting their arses laughing like it was fucking Tommy Tiernan's after jumping out in front of them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It kind of shows you like they're primed for a certain thing. But that did damage to me now, I'll be honest with you. That damaged your ego.
Well, you see the position they're in too, because I thought about it from their point of view as well. They're not in a comedy club in that they've come to the show for whatever reasons. It's the late, or it's the cutting edge. But they're also sitting in a brightly lit fucking studio, and they're looking at giant cameras and cables. Everything. They're like, Jesus. And then you walk out of nowhere in this giant open floor, and it's like, oh, I don't know, should we laugh at that? Because the problem being is that you're one of them. You know, you're an outsider too. But when a guy walks out, who's been, you know, he's probably grown in an incubator in RT, and fucking they planted him out in the garden, and then they harvested him, and that's what he became. He's in tune with the whole thing. Like, we're not in tune with that. Like, you see yourself, Tiernan, people are, even on his own show when he does the opening monologue and he has a bit of crack with him, what he does there would fucking rip the roof off in a comedy venue. Yeah. You know what I mean? In a theatre. Yeah. But you can see people are sitting there kind of going, because they know they know they're on telly, and at any point the camera could be on them. Everybody's on tenterhooks. It's just not an environment for fucking comedy at all, I don't think. Like, no,
and to be fair, in my own defense now, I did die, and I've died in a hole several times, and I think it's an important part of the process.
Yeah.
And I should also say as well that the day I actually did that, I had come from Ballinasloe where we had buried my grandfather, and I was still wearing the black shirt from the funeral. So when I was up there, I had other things going on in my mind as well. But saying that, I was only actually a comedian at this point, maybe 3 or 4 months.
Oh, fuck.
So I didn't even deserve the opportunity to be at the Late Late Show, to be doing the warm-up. I certainly didn't have the comprehension to understand of how to work a room or how to change your act to suit an older demographic or things like that. I didn't have, I suppose, the expertise or the skills at that point, which I suppose, you know, it's almost like you shot your load too early type of thing. You know, you were given this huge opportunity, but you didn't know what to do with it. And at that point, I had done so many interviews with the media because of the whole Des Bishop show and, you know, different kind of things on TV. I suppose my ego was through the roof, and I felt as though I could walk out like it was a comedy crowd they were prime for comedy. You just do your couple of jokes that's new, it's innovative, it's about travelers. For the first time they're getting to hear this stuff. I thought I would be received the same way. I wasn't. I dyed my hole, and it was a massive, massive learning curve. I'm actually happy that happened, because had I been successful back then, I wouldn't have learned about failing. And I think that's the most important part about succeeding, is learning how to fail and get up afterwards. If I got everything handed to me, I wouldn't learn the very important steps and processes involved to get to where I am now, you know?
Well, that's it, because this is a nice little way of a callback, in that we talked about, you're not fucking funny until they tell you you're fucking funny. You know what I mean? And those people just aren't ready or primed for the scenario. You could meet that exact same audience in a theatre or whatever, and they're nice and relaxed because there's anonymity in numbers and it's nice and dark. But when fucking, whatever it is about them cameras, when people see them being swung around the floor, it's like, and also, you know, they didn't come there. They showed up to see a show band and the odd guest, maybe that they saw on fucking Love Island or something. Not some bollocks just going, by the way, Howie, you know. I'm not gonna keep you too much longer, because I know you've the Liverpool match to go in and watch. Tell everybody. So we know the characters anyway. So anybody who's listening to this and who isn't following you, where's the best place? Is it Facebook? Because Instagram, we never even got onto your holidays. Your fucking holidays seem epic everywhere you seem to go.
Oh man, I love my a typical traveler. Like I went over to Brazil there last year in March.
How do you go to Brazil? People go to Lanzarote. Did you just go, fuck it, I'm off to Brazil, lads?
Well, actually, I have a lot of Brazilian friends, and eu estou estudando português por 2 anos. So I speak a little bit of Portuguese. I've been learning Portuguese, and I had a massive kind of draw towards Brazil. And of course, growing up, you had all the Brazilian football teams and all that. So I always had this kind of love and affinity towards it. But then through my work, through sociology and stuff like that, I also understand that in Brazil, and Rio de Janeiro in particular, there is a massive divide with the social classes, and there's a lot of racism. You never see many black people on TV in Brazil. So I've got friends that are living in Brazil, and I went to visit them. So I went to Rio de Janeiro first, and I spent 6 days there. And I went to the largest favela that was in South America. It was called Hostinha. And I went on a walking tour the first day with this guy who's from the favela. And we walked up, and you know, there's over 1 million people living in the favela. Yeah, 1 million people, and they're all little like shanty towns. There's like open sewers on the streets, the whole lot. We went up, and there was like this. Oh man, it was heartbreaking. There was this little orphanage. We went up to it, and at the top of the orphanage, you can kind of see over the favela. I took some pictures there, selfies and all that. But then you're kind of walking out through the orphanage, and you're looking in at the little babies, man. There was like 30 or 40 of them. And they're all lying down on mats because it was their nap time. And there was this little donation box left aside, you know, and they were kind of explaining, you know, about the orphanage and how it's run, and it runs on donations. The government gives, I think, is like the equivalent of like €200 a month for this whole place. Like I threw in 500 reais, which was just over €100. And like literally they told me that the diet that they have for the kids is juice, rice, beans, and cereal. Man, it was fucking heartbreaking. And the reason why I wanted to go to Brazil, I wanted to remind myself that, yes, in Ireland, travellers historically are seen as the most disadvantaged group in Irish society and have been for centuries. But man, I've never known privilege or white privilege till I went to Brazil. When I went over there, there was no question about being a traveller or a gypsy or anything like that. You were white, you had money. These babies didn't. Some of the kids, their parents were either drug addicts or they were shot. So when we were finishing the tour, we had to walk past these guys with Kalashnikov, AK-47s, actual drug traffickers. And the thing is, the cops know they're there. There's an agreement there. So walked through it all. We were told no videos, no recording. The drug traffickers, the main guy has left. He said that it's okay to bring tourists here, but you're not to do any of that. And he said, and just so you know, look around you, look back. Little kids up on the balconies and they're watching us. Everywhere we went, we were watching. So we went to this little kind of like a shop that the locals have, and this walking tour brings money into the area. So I went into this little place, and we had some food. And some of the people on the tour were from Norway. They didn't want to eat the food. Is this used with clean water? And I was like, I couldn't give a fuck. I'm starving. I was like, give us some of that, and give us some of your cachaça as well, the alcohol they have. It's like poaching. it was fucking firewater. So I went in and I looked over this little craft, and actually this little thing here. So they were selling these. I bought like about 20 of these. They're little. It says Hacinia on it, so it's from the actual favela. And I gave that money, but then I noticed there was a little. What they do is they repurpose, copper wire.
Yeah.
So they repurposed that into little ornaments. And there was one there of a guitar. And I said, can I buy that? And they said, oh, this one's actually sold. It's going to be picked up tomorrow. I said, how long does it take you to make one? I said, could you make one now or in an hour or what? He said, no, tomorrow. So I was thinking to myself, perfect. Gave the money. And I said, I'll come back on another walking tour tomorrow. They didn't do walking tours on a Sunday. So I had to go up into this favela. Listen to this. Like
big fucking whitehead in you.
Big fucking milkshake brings all the fucking drug traffickers to the yard type of fucking body on me, and I'm fucking 20 stone, and I'm sweating like a fucking pig, and I'm going up along on these little tiny streets, and you go up and fucking, and you get up to the top, and you're trying to work out which fucking alleyway was this, and then you end up finding it. I got the guitar anyway, and as I was leaving, they said, oh, cachaça. So I said, I'll have a fucking cachaça, I'm going to need it. So took that, and by the time I walked outside the shop, there was 6 of those fellas with fucking guns, and I was just watching. Now my Portuguese was okay, but it wasn't okay for them because they were kind of looking at it. And the thing is, the fact that I came back the next day without the walking tour made me look more kind of suspicious. So when I was walking out, I just went, oh, this, and I saw it. Tá bom, vai, like that. Good luck, go on, go. I said, I tell you one thing, Tom, for a fat fella in flip-flop, I was like fucking Linford Christie going down that fucking fella. I was gone. But I tell you, it was a great experience though. So then after the 6 days, by the way, it only cost, just for anyone that's interested in going to Brazil, it only cost me €30 a night in a big massive room in a hotel with breakfast included, 200 meters from Copacabana Beach in a very safe area, surrounded by little shops and restaurants. I then flew first class from Rio up to Natal, which is 3,500 kilometers to the northeast, and that only cost me €180 in first class. So 2-hour flight, 2.5-hour flight in first class. And then when I arrived in Natal, which, by the way, Natal in Portuguese, in English, it means Christmas. So when I went up there, and I ended up getting this apartment in a compound area, which is private security, the whole lot, a swimming pool outside, 6 nights, €119.
Stop.
I shit you not. I swear to fuck. This is no lie. Like €119. That's all it cost for the 6 nights. And then the food was dirt cheap. Like it was genuinely dirt cheap. You'd go out for, say, a 3-course meal would cost you in around €12-13. Top class steaks, the whole lot. I went out for, and some of my videos on Facebook will show this. I got very drunk one night because, of course, they sell absinthe over in Brazil. And I had a couple of absinthe, and I was drinking these sex on the beach, but it looked like a fucking, I don't know, a bucket that you throw a mop into. It was huge. And I was drinking those, and I got absolutely walloped. I ended up falling asleep in the hammock outside. Man, unbelievable. 35 quid is what it cost me for getting absolutely plastered drunk. And that was including the Uber. So for anyone that's thinking about going to Brazil, get to Brazil. It's a little bit expensive to get over. At the moment, I was looking at flights to Brazil, from Dublin to Rio de Janeiro, is in around €530 for next January. I would suggest also that if you're going to go to Brazil, to think about February is during the Carnival season, so it's going to be far more expensive. So go either January or March. They're the best times to kind of go, weather-wise as well.
And get a fucking walking tour, guys. Don't go fucking wandering into fucking favelas.
Well, I survived, and to be honest with you, it was probably the most stupid thing that I've ever done in my life. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't brave. Like it was quite stupid. It wasn't. It's not one of those. Look at this mad bastard. It was just look at this stupid bastard. And they were Brazilians saying the same thing to me. You know, it made no sense for me to go in there on my own. But because I'd already ordered the thing and had already paid for it, I had to come back. By the way, the walking tour only cost you €19.
Savage. Holy Jesus
Man,
Christ.
Definitely.
Your match is
another shout out.
Yeah,
I'll give you one more shout out for another country. Get your arses to Slovenia, by the way. It's one of the most kind of underappreciated countries in all of Europe. It's Eastern Europe, it's Slovenia. So you're literally attaching yourself to Croatia, you've got Italy. It's fantastic. I was over there 2 years ago. I was asked over to speak about intersectionality within the LGBT community for Ljubljana Pride. And I ended up speaking on, it was actually funny enough, it was a Finnish TV production company.
Of course.
So I ended up speaking in Slovenia for Finnish TV. But I went to Lake Bled. That's another place. Super cheap. Very difficult to fly there. I would fly to Venice and then I'd get the 2-hour kind of shuttle bus up to Ljubljana. But you can also go into Zagreb in Croatia and then go down to Ljubljana. But like, for an example, price of food and stuff like that, I was getting so basically you get your eggs, sausages, cheese, lovely big breakfast, toast, coffee, the whole lot, and a box of Lucky Strike cigarettes was like €9.
Hold on, the fags were in with your breakfast.
You could buy them in the cafe that I was going to. So that was near a place called Metelikovo.
I thought it was just par for the course. It was a full Slovenian out with the bull's foot, and there's 20 fags as well.
No.
It's like, this is class.
No. No, that was just one example of I suppose what I bought on that particular day. But man, that's another place. If you've never been, it's great. Now you got a kid now, so just look on the internet at Lake Bled, BLED. The water is like it's almost like somebody put a dye into the water. It's that blue. But the water itself is, when you put your hand into the water feels soft. It's kind of got like an algae that makes the whole lake blue.
Right.
And you can see the actual fish like swimming up under the water. It's that clear. Absolutely phenomenal place, genuinely.
This is the thing, finding those little nuggets around the place is fucking class, isn't it? We went to a place in we ended up by pure fluke. It was the hotel that Casino Royale was shot in. We stayed in.
Oh yeah?
It's this town in the middle of a valley that's in a forest. And it's where these mad fuckers, owl fuckers from around the world, it was built over a spring. And the water is supposed to, I don't know, they say it's youth giving this water. I don't know, right? But I was speaking to a 98-year-old fucking Mexican lad who goes there every single year. And the fucking wife is 97 and the wife's sister is 96. And they're just strutting around the places. Well, I think they were doing highly illegal fucking plastic surgeries. I think what this fucking place is. They were still behind the communist fucking. There was still a touch of communism about the place. But I kind of liked it for its weirdness.
Where was it? Where is it?
Oh, what is the fucking name? It was such a bizarre name.
What country?
It was in... Were we in Croatia? I think we were in Croatia. Where?
Wasn't Zagreb?
No. Oh, no, it wasn't.
Was it a coastal one?
It wasn't. This was hidden into a forest. We were actually quite close to... It was... If you looked at it on a map, you go, there's no town there. Only when you zoom right in. It was pretty much built... This city was built in amongst this fucking whatchamacallit.
Man, that's deadly.
Karlovy Vary is the name of the town. The name of the city.
Yeah.
It's the strangest... It's worth going to... Just as you won't have come across a place like this ever before. The Germans had it at one stage, then it was behind the fucking Iron Curtain. And it's just fucking, there's a weird but very interestingly weird vibe about the whole place.
Isn't Croatia beautiful anyway?
Oh, stunning.
The shot a lot of Game of Thrones was there, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was, well, this place was just, it just blew my mind that all these really fucking healthy looking fuckers went there every single year for their boost or whatever. There was some sort of fucking steroids or something going on in this town that had been and because it was just hidden out of sight, they were doing some weird shit to people because everybody was living way too fucking long in this area. It can't have been the old water that was going on in the fucking, it can't be. It's because I tried it and I nearly got sick. So maybe it's just my culty fucking breeding. I just couldn't deal with it.
You tried it, you came out with fucking superpowers for growing a fucking a horse's mane that you call a mullet.
And my tribute to Big Joe Joyce, the moustache of a champion. Look at that moustache.
You look like a withered Tom Selleck.
And Tom Selleck is fair fucking bad. Jesus Christ. Right, I'm gonna let you get into your match. Where's the best place for people to find you or follow you? Is it Facebook? Is where you do your best of your stuff?
Yeah, so if you go onto Facebook, type in Martin Beanz Ward, and Beans with a Z, because I'm edgy like that. So Beanz, Martin Beanz Ward, and I have to specifically state it's Martin Beanz Ward, comedian. Just to remind you, it's a comedian.
Yeah.
I don't know why the fuck I picked that as a name. And then on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, it's at Martin Beanz, MartinBeanz. Give us a follow. I'll probably ignore you, but sure, look, look, Facebook for comedy, Instagram for the vanity pictures, Twitter for the political and sociological debates, and Snapchat for those 3 o'clock drunken fucking snaps that you don't really want to get type of thing, you know. But no, it's comedy across the board. But Twitter is more political kind of stuff, kind of feeding into the sociology and things like that. I usually do my anti-racism stuff or anti-homophobia stuff on Twitter. It tends to be a better area for the political stuff, whereas Facebook is much better for comedy. People go to Facebook just for a bit of laugh and to share things easily, you know?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, catch me there.
Martin, it's been an absolute
Catch me
pleasure.
outside. How about that?
Catch me outside. You're a legend. Martin Beanz Ward, thank you very much, champ.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Bye. Tommy Ray Silage.
Tommy Ray Silage, man. That'll be tonight. I'm getting a fucking tattoo of that up my arm. Spell silage with a Z.
Silage.